gladly pay, and we'd raise the money for the magazine. Some of them, though, were a little questionable, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I had a little question about that one. Why they needed to see that, I didn't know. But that was Erskine. He knew how to work a room and also how to work students, so that they felt that this was something they had to see. Oh, another movie we showed to them was Bedtime for Bonzo. And they most enjoyed that because that was during the Reagan years. The entire time that I was at UConn with him, I not only was his office mate, but we ended up living together as roommates, and for several years with Christine as well, sharing apartments and houses, including one famous house at Lake Bungay in Woodstock Valley, Connecticut. We had some crazy times, some fun times, and some, sometimes that stayed with us for the rest of our lives, and I know they did with him. Although I hadn't seen Erskine for a number of years, we stayed in touch. And one of the things about him is that he was a great writer in terms of keeping in touch with you or calling you, much better than I was, I will admit. I'm a texter. He didn't believe in texting. But he was great at dropping you a line or an email or a call. And I will really miss those calls because they'd come at an unexpected moment and always with the same beginning. Hello there, lad. How are you? I wanted to say that writing was something so important to us, and I think that showed in everything that was said tonight. How important his writing was, the teaching of writing to others, himself as a writer. And I know that in the back of the hall here, there are a collection of some of his writings. I know how deeply important they were to him. I was going to read a poem that he wrote for me, but somehow I don't think I can. I think it's too personal. I wanted to end by reading a poem by Wallace Stevens. He's a great Connecticut poet. And it's a poem that I think is very fitting for, if I can read it with my glaucoma and my dark glasses. I'm not trying to emulate Bono or the Blues Brothers, but I broke my other glasses yesterday, so I'm struggling a little bit here. It's called The Planet on the Table, and it's by Wallace Stevens, the state poet of Connecticut. And I think it says a lot about Erskine at the end of his life. Ariel was glad he had written his poems. They were of a remembered time, or of something that had something seen that he liked. Other makings of the sun were waste and welter, and the ripe shrub ride. His self and the sun were one, and his poems, although makings of himself, were at last makings of the sun. It was not important that they survive. That's a great line. It was not important that they survive. What mattered was that they would bear some lineament or character, some affluence, if only half perceived, in the poverty of their words, of the planet of which they were a part. And I wanted to end by not taking off my shirt. This person once did in a famous YouTube, I'm not really aware of, showing me the shirt that I wore today in his honor of the Phoenix, T.H. Lawrence's Phoenix. And I think Erskine, like the Phoenix, is someone who definitely will and has risen from the ashes. Thank you.
Two iPhones, one of them's about ready to die. And it's fitting for a couple of reasons that I'm going to get into here in just a second, as soon as I get the darn thing to open up. Hey, got the out. Got the out. Erskine Carter, Tots Hama. Carter, the dog. Maybe. Couch. It's a traditional medicine. It's old. It's old stuff. And as first people go to the mountains, in July through August, and they'll go up there and they'll dig these roots out of the ground. Pull these roots out. There's medicine there. It's mental, physical, spiritual medicine. It's what they go up into the mountains for. So I'm burning that, sort of starting it off with something that's ancient, older than memory, something that's of the earth. You know T.S. Eliot's first 5 lines from 4 quartets: time, present, time, past, or both, perhaps present, and time, future. And then there's the line I always forget that I have to look up. If all and time future contained in time past. If all time is eternally present, all time is unredeemable. And you know, if there's something that Erskine professed, it was that time was unredeemable, that this is all we have, this moment together. I like Jim's comment. It's like, he could crash into you, but he wasn't a hit and run. You know, that's a beautiful way of thinking about Carter's spirit, that ancient part of him that we all had the chance to collide with. The first time that I even heard Erskine Carter's name was when I was going through the process of trying to apply for the job at this place. We were welfare poor, right? Yeah. My daughter Sarah hadn't had glasses in 6 years. We couldn't afford to get glasses for her, so I was like, I wanted to get this job. Wanted to be able to support him. I was looking through the computer. I was online because I wanted to find out what the publications were of the people I was going to work with, so that when I went into the interview, I could say, oh yeah, I read this thing that you wrote. And so I stumbled across Erskine Carter's name through the list of professors there, and there's this picture that's the same one that's in the handout here, or in the pictures up there. I forget where I've seen it. And I thought, Erskine Carter? How kind of name is that? Get that name, right? Canada, it turns out. Yeah. And I was was like, okay, well, I'm gonna find out what this guy published, because he looks like somebody who would have published something. What he looks like. So I went through the computer, did my searches, nothing came out. I said, what kind of guy is this? Right? Jeez. And this was all in my mind before I met him. You know, this relationship with him, this challenging him. Right? This challenge. And then I got here and somehow I managed to get the job, and I was in the office until 2 or 3 in the morning putting my syllabi together, and Erskine would cringe, but I would say syllabuses every time he was talking. Because syllabuses is more fun to say than syllabi. He'd say, how can you say that? And I'd say, well, you have your silly buys. I have my silly buses. There we were in the office late at night, and Erskine said, I started talking to him about the things that I would do, about being with Nez Perce people and being, what happens to the sons and daughters of anthropologists. And Erskine said, what's this sweat house thing? I said, well, it's like a sauna or something. Oh, he says, you want a sauna? He said, well, that's something I can do, right? So let's go up to the Rock Island Fitness Center here. And we went in there, and Erskine introduced me to Phil Hare. Was like one of the first people I ever met, and I'm here to tell you, seeing Phil Hare in the buff, right, was something else indeed. Absolutely wonderful. Erskine had a way of getting to the heart of the power that existed in the area, exposing it. And it's on my right side, so, I'm sure that Odysseus would say that, we're in the right way. It's good. It's turned out too, so it doesn't. We might do that a couple times. The ironies with Erskine, of course, is that I'm starting with technology, right? Which, though Erskine was capable of, was something he had quite a bit of contempt for. So that's where our friendship started, and in all of that, there's this one memory that I have of Erskine driving me to the Rock Island Fitness Center to go to the sauna, which actually really helped me a lot because I didn't get to have my children with me, and so Erskine took me to the place where if I could be connected to my children, it would be there. Now, I know that might sound strange to say about the Rock Island Fitness Center sauna, right? But that was like, taking me to as close to my children as I could be. And he seemed to have a feel for that. So we're driving to the Rock Island Fitness Center, and I'm sitting in the passenger side of his car because I didn't have a car. And there were these mushrooms in the tree, what we call hip-hop. Nez Perce people, that's hip-hop. So I was like, hang on, stop the car. And he stopped the car, and there's no place for other people to get around. But he stopped the car. And I ran over, jumped across the creek, and went up to the trees and pulled off all of these mushrooms, these hip-hop, which were of that place from which I come. I run back to the car, I had this, he's like, what's that? It's hip hop. I was like, it's here too, my place is it's here too. Oh, I have some stories of that guy, the things he would do for other people. It's like it's one non-stop contribution after another, and we have that human side that we wouldn't want me to let you get away with not acknowledging his human side, right? But the people he helped, without them really wanting anything other than perhaps respect, right? Respect. wrote this on Facebook. My dear friend Erskine Carter, a man who saved my job and more than once my spirit and my sanity. A man who was everything an academic colleague could be and more. A conspirator who stood with me in court as I challenged my government's obscenity. A collaborator who carefully and kindly edited most everything I've penned in the last 14 years and chided me as needed for all those silly errors that littered my writing. A man, a real man, the kind of man who lived boldly, loved madly, the kind of man you could trust to really have your back in a fight, the kind of man who spoke truth to power and to himself and to his friend, my friend and brother, has now shuffled off this mortal coil. And I felt it fitting that I should end that with a short quote from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You guys will get that. But he won't let the pain blot out the humor no more, and he'll let the humor blot out the pain. Chief's saying that to his friend. Maybe. My eagle feathers back at the office. Dial that thing. And bringing things together. And starting with the earth and the ending in the earth. The one who will speak and sing. An honored position to have. Thank you. He really loved you guys. Told him we wasn't going to get into. Good guy. Oh, Chief Song. See if I can do it.
sure everyone's pretty eager to go downstairs and get to talk with one another, so just very briefly, again, I wanted to thank everyone for coming. It means a lot to me and my sisters, just to hear, how important he was in so many people's lives. Rock Island has been my father's home the past 30 years, and, no matter where he went, after retiring, I think that took a big piece of who he was away. But fortunately, he had Vera to go visit and had many adventures. But this was his home, and he cared about all of you very much. Moving on, we're going to be singing "Blowing in the Wind." I also want to thank everyone who helped plan the memorial, Mike and Galen, Chris Dunn, Jim Ryan. Thank you so much for all the help. No way we would have been able to do it completely from St. Louis. But it's just nice to be together. It's a very warm environment, and I think my dad would be pleased with how things went. So we have a couple hours left to talk with one another and share stories, and I think that, at least personally, that's what's going to help make everything a little easier. My intention with the memorial was to make it so that everyone leaves with a comfortable feeling about my father's death, feeling a little better about it, and like as if they were able to, make a step towards moving on from it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yes. Later.
More guitars, the merrier.
Yes.
Everybody solo.
Well, certainly I've never known anybody as big of a Bob Dylan freak as Erskine Carter.
Probably only Bob Dylan would be the big group.
Probably so. Probably Bob Dylan would be the only one bigger. So this is Blowing in the Wind. Please feel free to sing along.
How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? And how many seas must a white sail before she sinks in the sand? And how many times must a cannonball
That's good. Good, good, good. Cool, thank you.